Ralph Lauren dropped a campaign that was centered around Oak Bluffs. The imagery was soft, it was elegant, it was beautiful, and some people still had something negative to say. And I want to talk about why this is even controversial at all at this point. Let's start with some background on Oak Bluffs. Oak Bluffs is a town in Martha's Vineyard. It holds a significant place in Black history because it was considered a safe haven and a cultural hub for African Americans, especially during the early 20th century, and still continuing to this day. It became a really popular destination for upper and middle class Black American families who were seeking respite from discrimination and segregation. Now let's talk about the actual campaign from Ralph Lauren. So in this campaign, we saw a lot of luxury and a lot of softness and a lot of beauty just all throughout. I actually watched the 23-minute documentary, I guess you would call it, on Oak Bluffs that Ralph Lauren put together. And they interviewed people whose families have been in Oak Bluffs for generations, whether they live there full time or they vacation there. And it was so interesting because it just felt so warm and so inviting. The way that they portrayed the history and the way that they portrayed the place just seemed like it was so welcoming and warm and inviting and safe. And they kept using the term safe, and I think that it just makes you want to be a part of it. I thought it was an absolutely beautiful campaign. I would totally recommend watching the 23-minute video. It's completely worth it, especially if you don't know the history, which I did not. But overall, this campaign highlighted pride, intergenerational beauty. There was no trauma. It was really just Black excellence all around. So at this point, you may be thinking, why would anyone be upset about that? And of course, people get upset over anything. So really, are we surprised at this point? I think that the negativity toward this campaign mostly started ramping up on TikTok from this one creator. I had CapCut transcribe what he says in the video so that I can read it to you because there was a lot of cursing going on and I just don't want to do that on my channel. I didn't want to beep out everything. I'm just going to read and tell you what he said. Black elitism has got to get the F out the same way that white supremacy does. I don't give a F how you present it to me. I don't care. James Jeter just dropped a second collection with Polo Ralph Lauren. The first one, Morehouse and Spelman HBCUs were the craze, totally get it. Layup, I understand. Now we're in the second collection. It's based off of Oak Bluff, the only section in Martha's Vineyard where Black people could gather and do their thing. Cool. I don't give a F about none of that. I don't want a Black all-American story when it comes to Polo Ralph Lauren because that's not how we and people who look like me have engaged with the brand. It's never been about some elite bourgeoisie stuff. We stole that. The things that you're creating, the things that you're trying to create, the things that like, this is Black excellence or Black elite or whatever, we stole that. That is not how we engage with Polo Ralph Lauren. And while I feel like you're overly qualified to sit in the seat as creative director, you must tell these people, if you're going to leverage my Blackness to help your company, then we have to do it how Black people have done it. We have to. We at some point have to recognize the lowlifes. It was a rebellion to the American dream, to the all-American standard. We stole that. And for us who were using our dollar to buy Polo, at best we're talking about Macy's dealer level. And for most of us, it's Marshall's and Ross level. And you have to get it if you're going to sit in the creative director seat. We're going to steal that up there. That $600 jacket, the booster's back. I'm not saying this to like promote it, you know, when I'm saying nefarious behavior and shenanigans. I'm saying it because that's how we engage with this. And he essentially ends it by saying that it's kind of disingenuous the way that, you know, things are being portrayed here. And of course it resonated with some people. Some people do agree that this does not represent how Black people interact with the brand. However, I want to point out one thing, and I feel like this is something that we should not have to say, but somebody said it in the comments and the creator replied to that comment. So I am going to talk about it. It's the whole Black people are not a monolith thing. Like, we all know that. I feel like I don't even have to say this at this point because it's such like a overused statement because we're always having to say it. Somebody said, Black people are not a monolith. I'm from the burbs, and I've always seen how we engage with the brand from the hood, the middle class, and the elite. Personally, I loved seeing the ad that reflected us in a light that so many don't get to see normally. We aren't all struggling and scraping. And the original creator responds and says, Black people are a monolith because it was essential to our survival. Fundamentally, we are all the same. We may cope with oppression in different ways. We may have different interests, but in order to survive, we are a monolith. Obviously, like, that statement in itself is problematic now, like, because you're starting it off with struggling. I made a few videos a little while back about how struggle content is ruining your mindset. And I feel like this has a lot to do with it. If there's pushback on content that is soft and beautiful and showing people in a really positive and lovely light, and there's pushback to that, then it's going to keep us in the same place and we're going to keep seeing Tyler Perry movies. I specifically talked about Tyler Perry's Straw in another video. And how damaging that can be to someone's mindset. If you're always seeing people who look like you portrayed in a specific way and it's negative, then of course you're not going to feel great. And you're also going to feel uncomfortable when you see them portrayed differently. And sometimes when something seems unfamiliar, it seems inauthentic. But let's remember here that just because something is not relatable to you does not mean it's not relatable to someone. Which is funny to me because a lot of times people talk about like generational wealth and building empires and all of those kinds of things. Well, do you think that there's not Black people who have already done that? Like, what do you think that they're living like? And obviously not all like rich or wealthy or middle class, upper middle class Black people are going to have the same aesthetic like this Oak Bluffs collection. They're not going to have that same aesthetic, but some of them do. This is somebody's actual story. This is something that somebody relates to. This is somebody's actual real life. And just because it's not your story doesn't mean that it doesn't deserve to be told. Another issue that some people had with this was why didn't the creative director do this with a Black-owned brand? And to be honest, I don't really feel like we necessarily need to dig super far into that because Ralph Lauren is one of the most well-known brands in the world. This has a huge amount of reach, and this campaign portraying people in such a positive light, portraying Black people in such a positive light, and representing this specific group of Black people who, you know, this is their life. And while I would love to see this from a Black-owned business as well, I love seeing it here too. That doesn't mean that I don't love seeing it from this brand. Now, my personal point of view, I grew up in the suburbs. I was not like a Jack and Jill kid though. If you're familiar with the group Jack and Jill, I don't know how you would exactly explain it. The only things that I actually know about Jack and Jill are from what I remember. I have my computer here. I'm going to look up like the official, I don't know, is it like a club? Jack and Jill of America is an American leadership organization for African American mothers and their children, established in Philadelphia in 1938. Isn't it funny? Because like I haven't heard anything about Jack and Jill in a long time, and like that somebody mentioned it on TikTok when they were talking through their opinion on this campaign, and I was like, oh, I haven't heard that name in a while. Like I haven't heard that in a long time. It was almost like nostalgic, even though I wasn't a part of that. I went to a predominantly white school in a predominantly white town. I grew up in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, so I knew some Jack and Jill kids, but I was not one of them. So I always heard that it was like very like bougie and like pretentious is what I always heard about it when I was a kid. I don't know how it actually is because like I said, I wasn't a member, but like that's what I always heard about it. I didn't go to an HBCU and I have never been to Oak Bluffs. So this campaign doesn't represent my story. That doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was amazing. Like I said, I watched that 23-minute documentary and I thought it was fantastic. And it did exactly what a campaign should do. At the end of the day, once you watch and you consume information and media from a campaign, you should feel like you want to be a part of what they are showing you. That's the whole idea of the marketing behind it. You should feel like you want to be in Oak Bluffs with your grandma at her house that she bought years and years ago so that the family could have a vacation spot and a second home. You should feel like you want to be there, and that's exactly how I felt watching it. The reason that campaigns make you feel like that, of course, is because, well, you know, if I can't have that exact life, or if that isn't my life, or if that's not what I'm from, then I can spend a couple $100s at Ralph Lauren and I can buy something that makes me feel a little bit of a part of that. That's what a campaign should be, and that's what it was. They did a fantastic job in this, in my opinion. Am I going to buy anything from there? Probably not, but that's because that's just not really me. Like, I like the style of it. I think that it's lovely. A lot of the items that I like are coats there. And first of all, they're like $700, which is like not terrible, but like $700 is a lot. I live in Arizona. Like, I really don't need a coat. Like, I don't need it. So I'm not going to really buy anything. I don't need a sweater. Like, I wear sweaters in the winter, but I have enough. It just doesn't get that cold here. I really like it. I probably won't buy anything from it, but I do like the collection. So like I said, this is not my story either. Just like the man in the original clip was saying that this is not how he associated with the brand, or this is not how he interacted with the brand, or people that he knew interacted with the brand. This is not representative of their life. It's not representative necessarily of mine either, but I still enjoy it. I still want to see content like this. I complain enough about struggle content. When you show me something that's not struggle content, I'm happy. Like, what else could I want? Because I'm like, oh, there's too much struggle content, too much this, too much that. It's portraying Black women this way, that way, this way. This portrays us in a very good light, and I love it, and I love to see it, and I support it. Also, the creative director is Black with, I believe, a history of Oak Bluffs as well. This is in relation to him too. Like, this is representative of the brand that he is creative directing. So why are we mad at that? We shouldn't be mad about any of this. Especially when there's other campaigns going on right now. I won't get fully into it, but y'all seen the Sydney Sweeney controversy for American Eagle? And you know what's funny? Like, I was kind of like, okay, well, like, how bad could it be? And then I saw it, and then I was like, oh. And then I saw what it was essentially based off of. Like, American Eagle had based it off of the Brooke Shields campaign. I think it was for Calvin Klein. She goes into talking about genes and like genetics and all of this stuff and how genetics are passed down. And Sydney Sweeney says essentially the same thing in the campaign for American Eagle. And she's like, my genes are blue, like talking about her eyes. And it's just a lot. If you haven't seen it, go see it. I'm not going to speak on it. I didn't prepare anything for this. It's just weird. Like, y'all are just trying to sell some jeans. Just sell the jeans. I don't know. Just So let's talk about why this is even a bigger issue than just this specific campaign. So like I mentioned before, if you are used to seeing people who look like you portrayed in a certain way, when you see them portrayed in a different way, you're going to feel a bit uncomfortable and maybe it will feel inauthentic. And I think that that is what this creator was trying to say, is that it feels inauthentic. This is not how I relate to the brand. This is not how I've seen people who look like me interact with this brand. And I think that that part is completely understandable. However, just because it feels that way to you doesn't mean it feels that way to everybody. The problem is that when you do think that way, and when a lot of people think that way, it's really hard to change what representation looks like if that representation is typically negative. And while I didn't see a ton of negativity around it, I did see people calling it like a controversy, a controversial campaign. I only saw a few like really negative TikToks about it. A lot of them were opposing those negative TikToks that were made about it. So I don't think that this is like a huge issue here that we're dealing with. But I do think it is something to be aware of. It's something to be aware of in your own thought process. It's something that can be applied to other areas of your life too. This doesn't only apply to this specific thing. You got to take a look at things sometimes and say, just because it doesn't relate to me, doesn't mean that this isn't someone's reality. And just because it isn't my story doesn't mean that it's a story that shouldn't be told. That is all that I have to say. Let me know how you feel in the comments down below. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this one. Also, if you want to follow me on my other socials, I'll put them on the screen. It's Kate Swan. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.